Holmes&Watson is a comedy movie starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly as the great detective Sherlock Holmes and his friend and confidant John Watson. Now, this movie is obviously based on the great detective novels by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I can genuinely say that this movie is the greatest insult to ever be put on film since Charlie Sheen in his movie 9/11, which is loosely based on the September 11th tragedy. Never in my years of watching and loving movies have I ever wanted to physically harm myself while watching a movie, and I sat through the entirety of Birdemic, which compared to this movie is a fucking masterpiece.
Lord, I'm having a heart attack. Damn, this is some scary shit.
This movie can pretty much be described as a flaming ball of horse shit. At no point in the movie does any legitimate comedy actually happen, but instead you do get given a complete movie of outdated references, jokes, and attempt at humour. Now, I do understand that humour is subjective, but we can all agree there is a line in the sand between comedy and two actors just trying to make a quick buck by doing feck all. Through the entirety of this movie, you might actually notice that a lot of the extras and supporting cast seem annoyed or on the verge of mass murder as these two previously unfunny actors shit on a well-loved character and the entire legacy of Sherlock Holmes. What makes it a lot worse is that they drag some actually funny actors into this god-awful movie, such as Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan, along with such awesome actors as Hugh Laurie and Ralph Fiennes. How this movie was greenlit fucking baffles me. What makes it even worse is the constant references to Donald Trump, how America is so great, and other stupid political blatherings that made me think for an instant this movie could have been a satirical play on how the world is spiralling into ruin with PC culture and a failing of governments around the world. However, instead of this, we get blatant references to the Make America Great Again hat, how Americans love guns, the fact that the Queen is unelected, which basically means jack shit, America is somehow righteous and true, and jokes about women, which could have actually worked, but due to the fact that they were so fucking obvious, it ruined them. The only joke in the entire movie I laughed at was when a little Cockney kid called Holmes a wanker, because it seemed to radiate my inner thoughts right from my head into the movie itself. Now, when watching a terrible movie, there is always that point when you either walk out of the movie or do what I did and give a massive audible sigh. Now, this did actually happen for me at around the 8-minute mark when I rolled my eyes so hard I currently have a headache. And by the 21-minute mark, I would rather have sat on a red-hot poker than continuing watching the movie. However, if I would have given up then, and let's say I should have, I wouldn't have been able to bring you this review, which in all honesty hurts so much I should probably seek medical attention. Now, what plot there is, and by that I do mean what plot you can kind of make out in this car crash of a movie, is so goddamn predictable I managed to guess the antagonist as soon as they appeared on screen. Now, for those of you at home who haven't seen the movie, I'm going to give you 10 seconds, right? And I'm going to put the cast on screen. I want you to pick out the one person you think is the main antagonist. 10 seconds, starting from now. That's right, if you guessed, and here's the spoiler alert, Mrs. Hudson, who is apparently the daughter of Moriarty and seems to shag major celebrities from around history, then you're right, it's Mrs. Hudson, Jesus Christ. Now, the thing about Mrs. Hudson being the bad guy is that she has the worst bad guy plan since strapping Bond to a death machine and monologuing, or the cliche I wanted you to capture me ploy from so many movies. This movie on a whole is just wrong. It's terrible, horrendously unfunny, and so far up its own arse, I'm not surprised. It's covered in shit. What is actually funny about this movie is that the two main actors, who in the past have made great movies, managed to lose a cool $6 million, with the budget of this movie being a $42 million budget, and it only bringing in 36.1 million at the box office. And at the same time, which makes it that little bit sweeter, it got a score of 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, putting it squarely in the oh dear God run section of movies. Holmes and Watson, you have been reviewed. Now fade into obscurity and never return.